Welcome to my channel. This is the Diamond Chrysalis, aka Divested Diamonds. This is divestment with purpose, and you have arrived. Greetings and salutations, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for being here today. Please do me a favor and click the like button as you watch this video. Thank you kindly. In today's premiere, we're going to be talking about the business of bashing and humiliating Black women, but specifically Black American women. With each year that passes, the number of male podcasters promising to offer relationship advice to women on how to attract the right man seems to be on the rise. Equally, there's been an uptick in Black female podcasters who want to capture the attention of their quote-unquote sisters in order to teach them how to attract and keep a man. The quote-unquote right man, if you will. I couldn't help but notice, however, that in the majority of these cases, genuine concern for that which they profess to do isn't usually at the top of the agenda for both sexes. The female podcasters merely put on a performative act in order to garner up male subscribers to whom they pander for validation and compliments. A lot of these women do so in order to stroke the male ego by attempting to be seen as incomparable to other women. They want to be seen as the women who crack the code to female desirability and agreeability on their romanticized road to relationships and marriage. So, video after video, they sugarcoat their talking points and pander to mostly weak men who are incapable of finding love or even have the mental fortitude to be able to withstand the woes of any real relationship. These are men who are incapable of generating any level of emotional intelligence in order to foster good, long-lasting, healthy relationships. These women have found the secret sauce to a steady income, which is lying to these men about their worth by exaggerated praise and inflating their egos, their capabilities as men, even though the rest of us know that these are complete lies. If men are supposed to be quote-unquote leaders, why do these women have to pander to them at such a low frequency while talking to them so delicately, massaging and stroking their fragile egos? But then again, I digress. By catering to these men the same way they would any child, these women are later rewarded with positive comments and labeled quote-unquote queen as a stamp of approval for all their hard work. The other side of the aisle is a little different. There are 3 types of Black male podcasters. You have the first group who pander to Black women under the guise of care. These are the types who use Black women's emotional support and Black women's own talking points to earn money and build a following, thus creating a steady stream of income for themselves. In order to not be seen as boring or intellectually stale, they will throw in a once-in-a-lifetime oddball to remind Black women of the quote-unquote quality content they're receiving through subscriptions and money donations. This usually involves holding Black women quote-unquote accountable for certain mishaps in relationships. And the reasons for doing this are pretty simple. The aim here is to build and maintain a loyal following in order to execute their long-winded con game. The response to this is usually quite comical, with women calling these men quote-unquote authentic and quote-unquote caring in their comment sections, calling them kings and giving them thanks for not being like quote-unquote the others. You know, the ones who are on a constant bashing train, degrading their own kind. The other group of male podcasters consists of the angry, disenfranchised male who feels the world is against him. This type is usually the beta male. He has no prospects in life, no sense of direction, and no real career. But what he definitely has is the gift of gab. So he puts on his Sunday best in order to seem intellectual, trustworthy, and important. This is your typical red pill male who has an inflated sense of self-worth. Nothing is ever his fault, and women are to blame for everything. This is the kind who will fake it till he makes it. His main goal is not only financial. He desperately craves approval and acceptance from other men. A pat on the back for a job well done would suffice, but not quite, because he needs more. He wishes to be a leader even though he naturally doesn't have what it takes to be one. Strategy, however, is part of the game. So he starts off with a sob story, which he knows a lot of his followers can relate to. From that, he builds himself up using his supporters' feedback. He's also of the belief that he's smarter than everyone else. He feels misunderstood. He feels angry about the cards he was dealt. He feels like he's constantly drowning in a competitive world that, to him, appears unfair, because he truly believes that this is the same world that shunned him and left him behind. So what he does is he comes to social media, creates a persona, gets a microphone, dims the lights, and voila, we're open for business. His target audience? Black women, but not in the way that you think. His strategy is to tug at the heartstrings and anger of the ordinary, disenfranchised male who, like him, feels like a total loser. He speaks to the hearts of men who feel abandoned, left behind. This type exists in an echo chamber, regurgitating other similar loser male talking points by speaking disparagingly about Black women or women in general, aka the modern woman, gaining a huge following off of other Black male losers who failed to navigate the system due to a lack of resources, extreme self-hatred, or the hatred of women, but Black women in particular. Why, you ask? Because that's where the money is. The last type of podcasters would actually be considered somewhat new, but not really. Let me explain. Over the years, they've been in and out of visibility based on the overall response of topics that are either none of their business or out of their depth. These types have gone from a few videos here and there to basically full retard. These are Black men and other ethnicity foreigners who mimic red pill content and want to cash in on the Black women bashing phenomenon. This type has been testing the waters to see what they can or cannot get away with. Recently, they've been sprouting from the left, the right, above, and beyond. It's ridiculous. These are the types who never seem to disrespect their own kind, as in women of their culture, but will disrespect Black American women specifically, because they see an opportunity of making lots of money by attaching themselves to the Black woman bashing red pill grift. One such individual is this guy. Now, I came across this dude months ago. I was scrolling through YouTube and found one of his videos and thought, well, what have we got here? What is this? At the time, he only had a small number of subscribers. I recently came across another one of his videos, and I noticed that number has grown exponentially. His content? Bashing Black American women. He's not from here, obviously. I believe he's Nigerian. Anyway, this dude did a quote-unquote reaction to a video of a Black American woman who, as far as I'm concerned, said nothing wrong. I'm going to be doing additional commentary to what he had to say. And later, we're going to talk a little bit about what this young lady had to say. So, without further ado, let's get started.
As it pertains to the child-free conversation, that I will change my mind eventually. I better hurry up. Time is running out. What am I waiting for? I'll change my mind when I meet the right guy and things like that. You got to hurry up and you got to have at least one kid, right? I've heard all of these variations of things probably 3 million times in my entire life. So, listen, this video is for y'all. And I think this should put a nail in the coffin, and I probably shouldn't have to talk about this part of being child free anymore. I want y'all to put something into perspective. Right now in my life, when I wake up in the morning, the first thing on my mind, besides,
oh shit, holy shit, I woke up again. Thank goodness.
Right? Besides that, I'm thinking about, do I want coffee or do I want tea this morning? Or a smoothie, maybe. But usually coffee or tea. Well, which one do I want? That's it. That's it. Then I'll take my shower, do something to my hair, do my makeup, right? Put my clothes on, things of that nature. Maybe do a quick workout depending on how early I wake up, right? That's my morning, generally speaking. On a Sunday or a Saturday, it's the same thing. I may sleep in a little bit longer than usual. I get up, I run my errands, usually on the weekends. I do all my shopping and stuff on the weekends. It's the same. That is my normal routine. I have nothing to worry about except coffee or tea. At my age, why the fuck do y'all think that now, at this age, I'm going to suddenly wake up and say, I don't want to wake up and not have things to worry about anymore. I want to wake up and worry about 7,000 things now, right? I got to get a kid up, make sure they're up, keep yelling, wake up, you're going to be late, right? They got to worry about packing lunches, checking homework, making sure things are the way it's supposed to be, making sure they're out the bed, dressed, making sure they actually took a shower or washed up for real, because you know how kids pretend like they're washing up and they're just sitting there with the water running, right? Making sure that if, I'm worried I'm going to be late. If they're running late, I'm going to run late. I got to drop them off to school. I got to make sure that they are getting their education. Then I got to make sure, they're safe. Do I want to worry about, are they going to get kidnapped on the way coming home from school today? Or are they going to be unalived in a school shooting? Then I got to pick them up, and then I got to take them to soccer practice or a fucking basketball practice. I got to do all of this extra shit every day. I'm going to wake up and choose violence because that's unnecessary stress. All of that stuff is so, you do not have to go through that. I have literally escaped, in my opinion, at least 80% of life's problems just by not having kids. Comparing that to everything else going on in the world, 80% of life's problems, I literally never have to go through 80% of life's problems or trials and tribulations just by not having kids. Suddenly, I'm going to wake up when all I have to worry about is coffee and tea, and change that on purpose to have a stress-filled, miserable, autopilot-ass life?
Why the fuck would I do that?
I'll give you guys a minute. I'll wait. Think about that person. Why would I do that? I am able, even though I haven't been anywhere this year yet, I'm able to just hop on a plane if I feel like it. Let's go here. Okay, hop on a plane and go. Don't have to worry about babysitters. Don't have to worry about, even if I have babysitters, are they going to diddle my son or daughter? Do I have to worry about them being abused, feeling unwanted? Because people would agree to watch your kids for the money, but then they'll mistreat your kids and don't really want them around, but they're just around for the money. I have to worry about all these things. Even if I found a babysitter, now I'm going to be worried about their safety and all that stuff while I'm gone. So I'm really not going to enjoy my vacation. Why do y'all think I would go from literally almost, I'm not trying to be funny, almost zero stress to stress overload, to the point where the fucking computer is starting to smoke because of sensory overload or whatever? Why would I choose that? Why would any woman choose that at this late in the game? Now, if you had your kids young, while you still were a kid, basically 15 or 19 or 25 or whatever, before your frontal lobe even closed, you probably don't really know what it's like to be child free, because you had your kids early in the game, right? So it's you kind of get used to the whole autopilot life and the soccer mom van and the fucking white picket fence idea or whatever. You're used to that mindset because you literally became a mother while you were still a child, before your frontal lobe even closed, right? But if I've gone this far and I've decided not to do that, why do y'all think I'm going to just wake up and make my life a living hell on purpose? Literally on purpose. Because that's what it will be. Kids are beautiful. I love kids, for the most part, babies. I'm a baby person. And I like kids when they're young and when they're well behaved, because they're so cute. I go up to people all the time, oh my gosh, she's so cute, or he's so cute, right? But the idea of owning one 24/7, absolutely not. My brain, I'm getting anxiety just thinking about that.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it. You heard what I heard. You heard the same thing that I heard. Now, it is not my place. It is not my place to judge anyone, because we are all entitled to feel how we feel. So I cannot judge her. However, I will give my opinion, and seeing that this is a reaction channel, this is how I feel about it. Three things. And we're going to start with number one. Number one, when will American black women understand being a single mom is not a thing? It's not cool. It is not a thing. America created that nonsense. They promoted it. They encouraged that nonsense. If you are a single woman, why are you even thinking about having children?
That is definitely not true. The United States, and black women specifically, did not create single motherhood. Men running away from the responsibility of raising children did not start with black American women. Now, we do talk about it a lot more than other countries do, but that doesn't mean we're the pioneers of such degeneracy. Is it problematic? Of course it is. As a West African man, you will do well to mind your own business and talk about all the other issues going on in your country of origin. You need to be finding solutions to your own issues rather than create polarizing content on the internet, going in on a group of people whose plight, whose lives, whose situations you don't even understand. To claim that black American women started this for clicks and views, no doubt, is highly disgusting to me. In order for any woman to be a single mother, the father of that child or children has to assume the mindset of not giving a fuck. How is this solely the black woman's fault? Where is your outrage for the men who leave? Besides deletion, There is no excuse for any man to not be present in his child's or children's lives. But men do it all the time. Is that acceptable? This is not a Black American woman thing. It happens all across the globe and has been happening for centuries. Let's not get too carried away by ignorance, doing performative videos for subscribers, all at the expense of Black American women. What's going on in your part of the world? Care to talk about that? Your part of the world has child brides. Want to talk about that? Matter of fact, there's a system in West Africa called Trokashi. Want to talk about that? Trokashi is a diabolical system where girls as young as 5 are enslaved. The girls are forced into hard labor for several years and are also required to perform sexual acts with fetish priests. These children are used as collateral for unpaid debts by adult family members, male family members in most cases. They are literally used as currency for diabolical, horny men who hide behind the label of tradition, customs, and religion. Many efforts have been made by the international community to put an end to this nonsense. But guess what? When something is practiced under the guise of customs, tradition, or religion, there is very little that outsiders can do about it. These horny bastards refuse to give it up, and so it continues. And before you say, well, it's only practiced in Ghana, think again. Trokashi is also practiced in Benin, Nigeria, and Togo. And just so you know, this is not the first time I'm talking about this issue. This atrocious practice that y'all claim is religion. And this has been going on for hundreds of years. So before you go around lecturing other people, think about what's going on in your own backyard. Don't even get me started on the 419 scams that your people are mostly known for. You all lead the charge when it comes to that. And as far as out of wedlock birth rates are concerned, the U.S. is not number 1 in the world. Shocked? Here's a list of countries on the stats for out of wedlock birth rates. I'll give you the top 10 of 2024. Number 1, Chile at 75.1%. Number 2, Costa Rica at 72.5%. Mexico comes in at number 3 at 70.4%. Number 4 is Iceland at 69.4%. France comes in at number 5 at 62.2%. Number 6 is Bulgaria at 59.6%. Number 7, we have Norway at 58.5%. Portugal comes in at number 8 at 57.9%. Slovenia comes in at 9 at 56.5%. Last but not least, we have Sweden at number 10 at 55.2%. You can find these stats on the worldpopulationreview.com website. I'll leave the link in the description bar below. So here's the thing. I'll bet the stats in your country of Nigeria are either inaccurate or non-existent, because this would not be at the top of list of things to do, because you have to factor in designated resources which your country just doesn't have, especially for this type of information. Surely you don't expect me to believe that Nigeria, the most populous country in Africa, doesn't have a problem with out-of-wedlock births, because I think you do. The only difference is it's not as easily accessed as it is in the United States. Matter of fact, your very misogynistic patriarchal society has found a devious, clever, but sad and insidious way of hiding your numbers. Here's a fact. Nigeria has a real issue with child brides. You literally don't care about violating the Child Rights Act. Your society gets to enact its abuses on little girls, young adults, and women under the umbrella of religion, tradition, culture, and customs. In Abuja, for instance, your nation's capital, child marriage remains prevalent because your federal and state governments haven't adequately enforced laws to prevent it. According to Human Rights Watch, Nigeria's rates of child marriage are some of the highest on the continent of Africa. Although the Federal Rights Act of 2003 prohibits marriage below the age of 18, the Nigerian Constitution contains provisions which appear to conflict with this position. Now, here's where things get really murky, very bizarre, and extremely pedophilic. When a young girl gets pregnant, the family's main concern is their reputation. In Imo State, a southeastern geopolitical zone of Nigeria, unintended early pregnancy is often considered a dishonor to the family. According to Human Rights Watch, this may be rooted in Igbo customary law, which deems a child born out of wedlock as illegitimate or quote-unquote fallen tree. The sad part of this entire circus is that if the parents are able to find a much older man that is willing to take responsibility for the pregnancy, they will marry that child off in order to save face. And this was echoed by a woman named Mary Jacob Akuosa, who is the founder of Whisper to Humanity Foundation. This is what they do to young girls who fall pregnant. They marry them off to much older men, and bride price is exchanged for it. Basically, auctioned off to the highest bidder, someone who's willing to take on a little extra baggage. And when you come from a country where people are constantly trying to survive by any means necessary, a country such as Nigeria, this is not the type of information that the government is willing to put resources into in order to combat the issue or protect the vulnerable. They have a system in place which has benefited the males for the longest time. Why would they care about the pedophilic nature of a lot of these men? Women in such societies are there for male enjoyment and other abuses. But the United States created baby mamahood, promoted it, and normalized it, right? Now, just because your dirty laundry isn't sitting on the front porch for the world to see, doesn't mean you're not engaging in similar practices, if not worse. The only difference is you're better at hiding it. Don't even get me started on what you do to young girls who have the courage to escape those horrible marriages that they're sold into. When these girls seek refuge with their own family members, for whatever reason, mostly involving abuse, these poor girls are sent right back to their husbands and forced to make those marriages work. You know, this holier-than-thou attitude that a lot of you seem to have when it comes to Black American women is just a fake veneer to your hidden degeneracy. I'm sorry, culture. I'm sick and tired of morally bankrupt groups of people attempting to advise Black American women when their own skeletons are falling out of the closet. You need to get off that superiority high ground and tend to your own shit. And really, this begs the question, which moral high horse did you come riding on to have the audacity to speak to Black American women in that manner? You're in no way, shape, or form qualified to be dishing out advice when you visibly failed to get your own issues in order. You're in no way, shape, or form qualified to be talking to us about morality when you're out there in your homeland slicing and dicing bits off of girls' vaginas and selling those same girls to the highest bidder. My message to you is this: learn to mind your own business and stay in your lane. I will actually take the liberty to pontificate that a lot of these quote unquote married women in your country are actually single married women. They may have the husband, the ring, the children, but are no different from any other baby mama in the US. Given Nigeria's unstable economy, corruption, overpopulation, and extreme lack of employment opportunities, a lot of women are probably raising these kids by themselves. It's very common for a lot of you to leave Nigeria in search of greener pastures overseas, separating from family members because you can't make it in your own country. According to Business Insider Africa, there are approximately 17 million Nigerians or people of Nigerian descent living outside of Nigeria. Despite having oil as a resource, your own government can't even take care of its own people. Here's a list of top 10 countries with the largest Nigerian population. The data comes from the Migration Policy Institute. Again, I'll leave the link in the description bar below for those of you who are interested in looking at it. Here are the estimates for the Nigerian diaspora population. Number 1, United States. There are 353,885 Nigerians in the United States. Number 2, the United Kingdom, 215,000. Number 3, Italy. And this one shocked me because I had no idea there were so many Nigerians in Italy. But anyway, opportunity. There are 119,400 Nigerians. Number 4, UAE, United Arab Emirates, 100,000. Number 5 is Brazil at 90,000. Number 6 is Germany at 83,000. Canada comes in at number 7 with 70,000. Number 8 is Spain with 70,000 as well. Number 9 is South Africa with 31,000. And finally, France with 30,000 Nigerians. So you see, it doesn't matter where you go in this world. There's always a Nigerian person looking for an opportunity for a better life. And here's a fact. Most Nigerians who leave their country don't even want to go back. And here's the thing. The numbers I gave you are estimates. This doesn't account for those who are living in these foreign countries illegally. Because I know for a fact, and a lot of you know for a fact, that there's a lot of that going on. So please, save your pompous opinions about who you believe we are and worry about your own people. Nigeria isn't comparable to the US. It's like day and night. Your problems and our problems are completely on two different wavelengths. What are we talking about? You have a long way to go, and you need to concentrate on fixing your own issues. Let's continue.
Children are for married couples. Couples that are married. Couples that are ready to start a family. Even some couples that are married, they wait a year or 2 years. Some even wait 3 years before they decide, okay, let's go ahead and start having children. Because they know how hard it is to have children. It's expensive to raise children. So why would a single woman even entertain that nonsense? Why? Because you got all these celebrities adopting, making babies outside wedlock, making it cool. Oh, this is my baby. They post baby pictures on Instagram and Facebook and blah, 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 blah. That's rubbish, my dear sisters. That's rubbish. Children are meant for couples, not single people. That's number 1. Number 2, she sounds like a very, very selfish individual.
Didn't he start off by saying it wasn't his place to judge anyone? That he was just going to give his opinion? So now he thinks that this young lady is selfish? Isn't that a form of judgment? Why? Because she chose herself over bringing a child into this world? Is it not her life? Is it not her body? Should it not be her choice? If most women actually had this mindset, we wouldn't have half of the issues we have, with the majority of these males thinking that they are all entitled to a woman's body without working for it. With that said, the manipulative nature of most men and their ability to lie to women by telling them what they want to hear in order to have access to their bodies is part of the reason most women find themselves in unfortunate circumstances. Let's face it, most men can't be vetted because most of you are incubi. You only care about sex. The most important thing to most of you is what's between your legs and your insatiable need to satisfy it. A lot of you care nothing about consequences. Since women are the givers of life and men are the helpers of said process, why would she not do everything in her power to protect herself? See, when it comes to this situation, it behooves the woman to be a little more analytical and picky when it comes to choosing a mate. Most men typically don't mind spreading their DNA all over the place because they're not the ones who have to bear the brunt of the responsibility when it comes to raising children. There's nothing selfish about not wanting children. Matter of fact, it's very selfless to not bring a child into this world if it's not what you want. There are so many women out there who regret having children. You don't hear about it much because it's taboo for a woman to be truthful about her experiences as a mother. And nobody ever stops to think that such women live in a mental prison because they can't express themselves due to the blasphemous nature of it all. And so they suffer in silence. Society has guilted women into believing that's what they're supposed to do and forcing them to accept why they need to do it. At the end of the day, this is nothing short of a selfish ploy for the continuation of the human race. This is why men and some women go out of their way to use shaming tactics, shaming rhetoric, and vitriol against these women. But you're a woman. That's what you're supposed to do. Says who? Women are ostracized for not following society's script, for not wanting to get married, for not wanting to have children. You're expected to want those things. Otherwise, there's something wrong with you. And the kicker is that the ones who complain the most are the same ones who shame these women for having these kids in the first place. These are the same males who shame these women once those males decide to leave their children behind. These are the same individuals, might I add, who do the least work once that baby arrives. They want you to do all the work. Even in 2024, they still want you to live by antiquated relationship standards without providing you with any resources. Weren't these the same males who were talking about child support forgiveness? Imagine that. The audacity. They want you to risk your life, especially as a Black woman. They want you to carry the burden of motherhood, postpartum depression, weight gain, for most women, not all. They want to use you as a portal to bring these kids into the world, to continue their bloodline. They seem to forget that that's your bloodline too, and your DNA. And then they solidify that by giving your child their last name, because women generally don't have their own last names, right? All of our last names have been inherited from male relatives. Women don't have last names because we live in a patriarchal society where a man's last name is a form of branding, an indication that this is who you belong to. How's that different from slavery? Didn't the enslaved get their master's last names too? I just want you to open your minds and think about it. I'm not at all saying that you should hate your father's last name. All I'm saying is there seems to be a pattern here. That's all. Now, I'm sure there are cultures out there that do the opposite, but that's not the norm. And we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about what is in this society. Let's continue.
And thank God she feels the way she feels, because she would make a horrible, horrible mother. I don't know her. Let's keep it real. Again, I'm not judging. I'm going off of what she said. Everything she said. I don't know her, never met her, know nothing about her. So I'm only going by what she said with her own mouth. She sounds like a very selfish individual. And those type of women tend to be horrible, horrible mothers. That's a fact. Look it up. Look it up.
Again, judging someone you've never met based on her justified feelings about motherhood is insane. Saying you're not judging her when that's exactly what you're doing is gaslighting at best. Let's continue.
Selfish women are the worst mothers on earth. Look it up yourself. Lastly, again, based on everything she said, she is this age, not married, with children. Why? Again, selfish. She does not sound like a woman that will cater to a man, that will submit to a man. All the things that any woman needs to be chosen as a wife.
So she's selfish because she's child-free, unmarried, and is unwilling to live her life in servitude to a man? Any man with these talking points is weak and borderline abusive. No woman, and I mean no woman, owes any man submission. Being born with a penis and existing as a male does not entitle you to submission. Most men aren't worthy of submission. Most men aren't looking for partners. Men like him are looking for human sex dolls, breeders, maids, and an extension of their mother. African Tyrone, aka Mr. Muntumbu, aka Babatunde, wants you as a slave, obedient and agreeable no matter what. Let's continue.
Based on her own words, she does not meet not one of them. I could be wrong. Again, I'm going by what she said. She cannot look past herself. All she sees is me, 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 me. What I want, my style, my this, me, mine, mine. No man that's worth something will tolerate that or will choose that.
This young lady did nothing wrong. She's simply living life on her own terms. It's always good to know what you want, especially as a woman. You see, many times women are ashamed for being different, for going against the grain, especially when not following society's script. Her choices aren't hurting anyone. I mean, sure, those closest to her may feel a little disappointed, but this is not about them. This is about her and what she wants in her life. Unfortunately, there are certain people, like this Nigerian stranger over here, who felt a way about it. At the end of the day, that's his problem and not hers. You know, as women, we must always try to live the types of lives that maximize our ability to be happy. Marriage isn't for all women. Children aren't for all women. And just a side note, there's a difference between being child-free and being childless, but that's a topic for another day. The point here is, there are women out there who are blessed enough to know what they really want. We most certainly don't have to live uniform lives just to fit in. As I've said many times before, I'm not against marriage, and I'm not against women having children. I'm not against single women, nor am I against single mothers. I support all women as long as the decisions are positive. I support all women who are serious about improving their lives. I'm a big believer in healthy life choices. Be productive, live your life, and be happy. As long as you're not making decisions under coercion, do you? We all have to remember at the end of the day that these are personal decisions. These are decisions that a woman must make on her own and not based on societal norms. Your life, your womb, your choice. What I really don't like about these conversations, especially in this current social media climate, is that we now have foreigners, Black people of other cultures and nationalities, thinking it's cool to shit on Black American women. And here's the thing. If we truly needed your help, your advice, we'd ask for it. But we don't think about you like that. Matter of fact, we don't think about you at all when it comes to our daily lives. So please, stop trying to act like our savior and deal with your own issues. Like, sir, get a real job. Bashing Black women is not a job. Stop trying to make a career out of bashing Black American women. Mind your own business for once. And I do realize that there are a lot of you out there who feel entitled to talk about us, how you think we live, our culture, and the way we conduct ourselves. Don't be fooled by social media or television. We are not a monolith. Can you please stop blaming Black women for the promotion of baby mamahood? This rabbit hole that you keep scratching at goes way deeper than a lot of you can comprehend. Look, I can admit that some Black women out there make really bad choices due to race loyalty, especially when it comes to having children. With that said, the promotion of said degeneracy is much more nuanced than that. There are other foreign entities who've benefited greatly from the degradation of the Black American woman's image. The music industry has been pushing for a lot of this ish for years. They've had Black males as the mouthpiece for the entire so-called community, glorifying the many different types of degeneracy. Behind these self-hating Harambes are a group of people, and we know who they are. We're just going to call them the untouchables. These individuals have been the driving force, the architects towards destroying our image as Black women. These people have been strategic and intentional at trapping these Black male artists, especially when it comes to hip hop. And they've done so through these 360 deals while pushing a certain narrative about our image and how we're viewed by the outside world. Now, let me just explain what a 360 deal is. I'll pull it up. Okay, according to Google, a 360 deal is a contract between a record label and an artist that gives the label a percentage of an artist's earnings from all sources, not just record sales. Let me repeat that. All sources. The term 360 refers to an all-encompassing nature of the contract, which covers a variety of revenue streams for the artist. So basically, slavery. But because a lot of these artists don't understand legal jargon, they find themselves in this predicament where they have to serve their master while doing his bidding for other atrocities. And that includes, but not limited to, the degradation of the Black woman's image. So you see, it's not quite as simple as you think it is. And here's the thing. The more degenerate the song lyrics, the better it is for business. And you have to bear in mind that these people can do whatever they want. They have the resources, the artist doesn't. There's a power dynamic at play here where the record label gets to tell the artist, jump. And the artist looks to the record label and says, how high? After all, it's not their community or reputation being trashed. is it? This group of people, with the help of black males, have gone out of their way to diminish our image on purpose because there's money to be made. Now, I did a video not too long ago in which I showed you what one of these individuals said when asked, basically, why he was taking advantage of the gullible. And all he had to say was, I've got mouths to feed. Black women being called bees and hoes in music isn't just a black male thing. There are so many layers to this. There are a lot of people who stand to benefit from all of this. The untouchables stand to benefit from all of this degeneracy. These males are literally encouraged to go in this direction. You will be surprised, or perhaps not, what people are willing to do for money. Meanwhile, these same people would never do that to women who look like them. Have you ever wondered why these same people are so welcoming to other races or other ethnicities of people to join the hip hop bandwagon in order to further this level of degeneracy? The degradation of the black woman's image isn't anything new, especially in this country. That's been going on for centuries. At the same time, most people know that collectively, black males globally will do anything for money. The majority of black males do not have an issue being sellouts as long as they're benefiting from it. They don't mind throwing a black woman under the bus for a little bit of coin or some other trinkets. Most black men don't need an incentive to shit on black women. Heck, they'll do it for free. But it's so much better when money is involved, right? It doesn't matter what kind of a black man you are. It doesn't matter whether you're from Africa or the Americas. This is a global mindset. And sure, the U.S. has its fuckery. But let's not forget that slavery didn't happen by itself. Black Africans played a huge part in selling their own people. And that's a conversation people aren't willing to have. So there's that, right? The other thing that I implore you ladies to do is to look up something called OSU. It's spelled O-S-U. Nigeria had a caste system called OSU, and I hope I'm saying it correctly. If I'm not, I do apologize. So this system was practiced in the Igbo region in southeastern Nigeria. In the past, OSU involved dedicating individuals to local deities, quote unquote, transforming them into slaves of the gods. Though such dedications no longer take place, the descendants of past OSU suffer from discrimination and social exclusion. So like I said, if you have time or interested in reading this, please do so. Moving on. Painting or making sweeping comments about Black American women being baby mamas is very ignorant. Please get an education and inform yourself. Read a book. Do something. You clearly have no understanding of how layered this conversation truly is. And look, I'm not just saying that in a victimhood kind of way. We're not victims. However, this is a one-sided battle. And the issue here is that no one sent for you. And look, I get it. Some of you simpletons are only on YouTube for a paycheck. And unfortunately, you're willing to do anything for money, including, but not limited to, bashing Black women. At this point, I would rather you concentrated on those 419 scams that you're so good at than talk about Black American women. Stop sticking your nose where it doesn't belong and calling us your quote-unquote sisters doesn't make it your business. All skin folk ain't kinfolk. Worry about yourself. You know, it boggles the mind. Why is it that everyone else feels they have the right to give us unsolicited advice, even when they don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. Do you really think we're that desperate for advice? That's rhetorical, by the way. Unfortunately, there are a lot of you who think are better than us or in a better position somehow, even though a lot of you are struggling in your own countries. And even when you are here in the US, your arrogance is unmatched. You seem to forget that the only reason you're allowed here in the first place is because of the blood, sweat, and tears of Black Americans. You seem to have a lot of time sitting on the internet addressing and advising Black American women when America is your source of income. A lot of you seem to forget that without all of these juicy stories, right? And all of this unsubstantiated gossip, a lot of you would be out of a job. You literally turned Black Americans into content. And let me just say this. A lot of African traditions rely heavily on women doing the bulk of the work when it comes to maintaining the household and child rearing. Most African marriages, and this comes from a lot of African women themselves who say that these men are toxic and smothered in misogyny. Africa is the second largest continent with 54 countries and counting. And I say counting because in the future, that number may rise due to war. They have the highest concentration of Black people anywhere in this world. Yet they allow men of other races to not only come in and own their land and resources, they exclude them from establishments that some of these foreigners acquire while doing business in their countries. Now make that make sense.
A Chinese supermarket in Abuja, Nigeria, sparked outrage when it was discovered that Nigerians were not allowed to shop there. The supermarket, owned by a Chinese woman, had a sign at the entrance that read, "Only Chinese and foreigners allowed." Nigerian workers at the supermarket confirmed that they were instructed to turn away Nigerian customers, while Chinese and foreign nationals were welcomed. Even they had to use Nigerians for labor in the same shop where Nigerians are not allowed to shop. So imagine you as a Nigerian selling in that shop, and another Nigerian walks in and you tell the Nigerian to walk away. Okay, good. This policy by the Chinese supermarkets, which is discriminatory, of course, sparked outrage on social media. In fact, many Nigerians are calling for action. So the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission had to swing into action. Okay, sealing the supermarket and summoning the owner to appear before a tribunal. As the story gained national attention, Nigerians celebrated the government's swift response, praising the FCCPC for standing up against discrimination. The incident served as a reminder of the importance of equality and fairness in business and society. So now we're competing for fairness in our own society.
Uganda people, I heard there is a restaurant in Uganda that doesn't allow Ugandans to get in. A Chinese restaurant in Uganda that say no to Uganda people. They don't want Ugandans inside the restaurants. They don't want any black person from Uganda inside the restaurant. It seems like these Chinese people, they end up being worse than white people. This is the same thing that happened to Nigeria. It's a Chinese shop or shopping center, I don't know. Now, same thing is happening in Uganda. You open a restaurant in a country and you stop the people in that country from getting into the restaurant. My God. This thing done dey plenty for Africa, eh? Chinese people, you guys should be very careful. And my Uganda people, what are you guys doing now? How can you guys allow the restaurant in your country that doesn't allow you people to get in? You're gonna do something, Uganda people. Now this is life, not joke.
A lot of African leaders turn a blind eye to the grape, the red rum, and the MOLE station of babies and little girls. But you have time to sit on the internet to give us advice when your plate is full? And one more thing. There's been a huge spike in West African women doing YouTube videos based on what's going on TikTok. You have people such as Destiny Ute, Priscilla Boye, Evie Anita, Nanya Sim or Simnaya, that's the same person, and others who've capitalized off of Black American content. Now, let me just make this clear. I don't have an issue with the aforementioned group of women. So far, they haven't joined the bandwagon in disrespecting Black American women. With that said, there are other Nigerian women that I've had to side-eye because they've come into this space trying to make money off of us by being combative, feeding into stereotypes, and showing a lot of disrespect. And all they keep attracting is negativity in their comment section. And rightly so. Black American women have the right to defend themselves and their image, especially when stereotypes and misinformation are being spread recklessly and being used to drive a certain narrative. Sure, you can have your opinion to which you're entitled, but it's not your place to intervene in matters that don't concern you. Sadly, a lot of you feel emboldened to look down upon and disrespect us as a group because it pays. You are willing to lean into the negativity because it pays. This is why Babatunde here decided to call Princella a female dog because he couldn't regulate his emotions. Let's take a listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you guys understand why I say this woman is a cancer? This woman is a cancer and dangerous to our community. She is really pushing division. I don't care how you put it. She is pushing division. She's encouraging women not to get married. She is encouraging women to be rebellious. She's encouraging women to start swinging for the other fence and be a lesbian. Because if she's telling women, leave men alone, what else is there women to do besides date other women? You see, she has an agenda. This bitch got an agenda.
Look, Princella's message isn't for everyone. Heck, my message isn't for everyone. However, what we all have in common as content creators in this space is the ability to offer different perspectives on various topics, whether others agree with it or not. Now, riddle me this. What gives this male the right to call this woman a female dog? Here's another question. Would this male be this comfortable referring to women in his own family, his own tribe, his own ethnicity, his own nationality as female dogs? Please comment down below. And you see, this is why I mentioned in my snippet that this man in particular and all other men who think like him are enemies of Black American women. And here's the thing, the only reason he hasn't done videos talking about the American black male's degeneracy is because he knows that would not be received well. They would have his channel snatched up quicker than he could say egusi soup. It's easier and more financially rewarding to punch down on Black women. You know, you talk a really good game about morality and family, yet you're so quick to submit to men of other races. Why should Black American women take advice from a conquered male? The Chinese are literally dog walking you in your own countries. And the best you can do is, quote unquote, fight for your rights in countries where you are the majority. And since you're so concerned about marriage, here's a clue. You don't have what it takes to talk about submission when all you ever do is submit to other races of men. Like I said, conquered. The issue with men such as yourself is that you can only assert your authority in marriages where most of your women are oppressed, suppressed, and depressed. You don't believe me? You know what? Talk is cheap. Let's take a listen to the following.
Doesn't it bother you that our mothers are still in marriage, but many of their daughters are divorced? It goes to show that as far as marriage is concerned, there is something fundamental we are missing in our generation.
It's because you don't understand that women in that generation, we witnessed our mothers suffering. You didn't, because you were too busy outside playing and enjoying yourself, whilst we were in the house witnessing bad things in this so-called perfect marriage in your eyes. We heard our mother complain about our father. We heard our mother complain about how many times our father cheated. We heard about how many times our fathers impregnated another woman outside of the marriage. We heard everything. We heard our aunt got HIV by our uncle. I have one of my auntie. She's now passed away. Her husband gave her HIV. He went to work in a foreign country, and then when he came back, the gift he asked for her was HIV. You African boy, African man, you still have a sugary version of your marriage, of the father and your mother, whilst us, we know the reality of it. Most of the time, our mother were the one who suffered. They suffered the most. So when we say for the better and the worse is only for the women. Because you grew up witnessing this, because most of the time, boys, you know what's going on. You know that the father is not the best father. But because your mother stayed, you grew up believing that my wife also has to stay. Even though your father mistreated your mother, you still want your wife to accept everything you are doing to her, even if it's wrong, because this is how you have been raised. Most of African men, you have heard that women, wife, must accept everything. But what is happening now is this girl like me, who grew up hearing this type of story from my mom, from my auntie, from the elders. When is our time to get married? We absolutely don't want to go through the same cycle. This is why you are disturbed, because you are facing women who are choosing themselves over their husband, and this is why they are getting divorced. Because when you are still stuck in the ideal marriage of your mom and dad, we know what it is. We know how sour are these marriage. We know that this type of marriage come with a cost, and the only person who has to pay for the cost is the women. So no, life is too short. Life is too short for me to be with a man who is not willing to treat me the same way I treat him. Life is too short for any woman, anyone, to accept the bare minimum. I refuse to be a good wife to a bad husband. I refuse to give the best of me to a man who will only give the worst of him. This is why you are surprised, because this women generation no longer want this. We are healing and we are breaking the curse of toxic marriages. And you are stuck in the past. The only thing you want is to repeat the same trauma over and over again. Because whether you want it or not, this marriage affects the children. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because most of the time, men are selfish. You only think about your own well-being. You don't care about the wife. You don't care about how your children will be affected in the future. Stop. Enough. We are out.
When you put an African marriage side by side a Western marriage, it is obvious the African marriage looks more like slavery or what I call conjugal abuse. And it is unfortunate this has not been looked into at any point in time. But most times it is mistaken for what Bible calls marriage in the Bible. The lordship in the Bible simply means ownership because it is part of you. And Bible clearly states how you need to love your wife just as you love yourself. So African marriage is far from the Bible, very far. The first reason for that is this. Scriptural marriage does not have any room for slavery that is visible in African marriage. And that is why it is almost impossible to point any marriage in Africa that you can say it is a good marriage or successful marriage. The ones we all mistaken for good ones in the past, we came to see that the women were just under suppression. They never had a voice. They could not express their feelings. They died with their ideas, and it was all men's affairs. And that is why it is just natural for even a little boy to grow up to become a tyrant in marriage. The first reason I want us to understand in African marriage is that the men are never prepared for marriage. All preparation made around marriage is to prepare the woman for abuse or slavery. And that's why they keep preaching different tolerance, different patience that Bible spells out to African women. So by default, an African boy is grown with the mindset that is going to put a woman in the house when he gets married. Think about that. Not that he is joined to his wife, as the Bible says. And that's why many religious leaders have bad marriage, very reputable religious leaders. So the boy grows up becoming a tyrant in the marriage. Any little thing he abuses, he curses, he threatens with divorce or sending the lady back to her parents' home. So African marriage is nothing but emotional abuse, psychological abuse, so close to slavery, consented slavery. On the other hand, you can see the women enduring because they were prepared. Unintentionally though, you see, when parents keep telling daughters, is that the kind of food you are going to prepare for your husband? Is that the way you're going to tidy your house? Is that the way you're going to do when you get married? Those things were preparing the girl child for marriage. But nothing was done to prepare the boy child. So we need to change that mindset. It's a wrong mindset. Women are not sold into slavery. Men are meant to detach from their parents and join their wife, and they both become one flesh.
Straight from the horse's mouth, as it were. And that man is your fellow Nigerian. Dear Babatunde, my message to you is this. Please leave us alone. Black American women are out here minding their own business. They're living life. It doesn't matter if you agree or disagree with our life choices. It's not your place to insert yourself in matters that don't concern you. Leave us alone and mind your own business. On that note, what are your thoughts on what's been discussed here today? Please leave your thoughts and comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And remember, ladies, divest, divest, divest. Divest from Blackistan. Divest from wolves in sheep's clothing. Divest like a butterfly. And I'll see you next time. Bye, diamonds.